We've got some updates regarding the Canadian election, the current dynamics behind Alberta possibly seceding from Canada and joining the United States. Mark Carney, as you can see, has about a two-thirds chance to win, at least according to Polymarket. He recently went ahead of Pierre Poilievre, and now it does look like the Liberal Party, you're getting all type of Democrats and liberals within Canada kind of come together to keep the Conservatives out of power. And it's interesting to see the dynamic because now Carney is still trying to jazz up the trade war between the United States and Canada because it's been helping the Liberals galvanize them against the Conservative candidate because of Trump. And so that's really what's been happening. But, I mean, you've got Carney who just looks like, I don't know how they're going to elect this guy. This is a former banker. He was like governor of the Bank of Canada, the Bank of England. Like, it's just extremely awkward. Someone that's been prime minister for like a month at this point was handed it from Trudeau. Let's take a look at him in this video here.
You're going to be able to buy a home. You're going to be able to afford a home, just like I could afford a home. You've got a future. We're going to build a future. We're building a future for you guys right here. Oh my God, this is why I'm in this. Actually, right there.
And just so flamboyant with Carney there. You can see the Liberal Party's polling surge is Canada's largest ever. And they're talking about the historicalness of where the Liberal Party was just 4 or 5 months ago, or really since Trump took over, versus where it is now in terms of, yeah, they've made a crazy comeback. Some of that could be Trudeau stepping down, the Liberals getting in order. I mean, in general, Canada is very liberal. It is what it is, and they were going to go conservative because a bunch of things were falling into place, and they still might. I mean, I'm not convinced Carney's going to win. There's a lot of people that are saying the polls are fake. It's a psyop. It's just like Kamala Harris in the United States in the late summer. That's kind of why they called for this election. The Liberal Party did, was because of the current situation to where they were polling a lot better. But the reality of this is Carney continues to poll well. We're about, I would say, less than 4 weeks away. If the election is on the 28th, it's the 3rd right now. If this continues to where we go into election night, Carney's at about a 70% chance, 65% chance, whatever. If he wins, and it's looking like they are going to win a decent majority of seats within that government, then it's going to really anger a lot of Western Canada, including, by the way, parts of British Columbia. We know Saskatchewan and Alberta will be voting majority Conservative. We know that Manitoba possibly will also be voting Conservative, and British Columbia is like 50-50 right now. So when you take all of that into account with where we are, it wouldn't really surprise me if, Danielle Smith, the premier of Alberta, coming out and saying, well, we need to have a focus group and a potential referendum on leaving Canada if Carney wins. She's come out and said that. Is Alberta leaving Canada? Danielle Smith grilled on referendum talks. She's basically saying we're open to it. If Carney, I mean, she didn't say if Carney wins, but it's basically if Carney wins, we're going to have a referendum, or we're going to at least have a panel discussion with a group of people on possibly having a referendum to leave Canada. Now, whether or not they'll actually do that, I don't know. I think a lot of it depends on the situation and how the people of Alberta are feeling. But when you look at certain things within Canada, like the Equalization Act, to basically Western Canada subsidizing Eastern Canada because of the amount of natural resources, especially in Alberta, and also when you talk about the carbon tax and things to where they're impeded in actually extracting the minerals within their province, it's absolutely insane. So not only are they not able to do that in the name of clean energy, which again, especially for Canada, listen, I talk about the United States with clean energy and the CO2 emissions, all that, and how we've leveled them off. I mean, with Canada, it's got to be next level insane, because at least they try and make the argument with the United States to where it's like, oh, per capita, the U.S. emits the most. Which, by the way, per capita doesn't matter in the context of CO2 emissions. The climate doesn't care about per capita in terms of that, the context of it. But we've already got them down, at least leveled, and they still complain. But I can understand, okay, per capita CO2, the United States, yes, we do, we emit the most. but Canada's not even near the top, and they're still dinging Alberta after everything. So the people of Alberta are obviously very angry. And you look at a Republican president like Donald Trump, even if we had a liberal president, it's just the United States is a lot more right-wing, center-right in general as a political landscape than Canada is, and Alberta is more center-right. And I know people have talked about, well, maybe Alberta's even, liberal, even though they're the one conservative, but no, they're conservative. They would be a conservative state in the United States. They wouldn't be plus 30 conservative, but they would be more conservative. And you could also argue Saskatchewan, probably Manitoba would be a swing state, maybe left-leaning. Obviously, British Columbia would be left-leaning, but even people of British Columbia are sick of the Liberal government. You look at some of the projections, or at least some of the betting that I've seen, it's 50-50 on the Conservative Party winning in British Columbia this election for Canada. So that just goes to show you how hated the Liberals are and how it's really West versus East. Obviously not including the territories. The territories are very liberal, but the population's like around 1.1 million total with the 3 territories in northern Canada, so it's basically nothing. But the point of it is, if we continue to see these numbers, I'm just wondering, how do things develop in terms of Alberta maybe negotiating with Trump, negotiating with the United States? Is there really going to be a meeting like the Albertan lawyer Jeffrey Rath has said? He said they're going to go to D.C. Does that kickstart Donald Trump, who really, by the way, hasn't made much of a comment on Canada recently? You have to wonder, Trump saying publicly, I mean, this is like Vladimir Putin saying, no, I hope Kamala wins. It's like, well, if you're going to say it publicly, there's got to be an underlying strategy. And that's when I really didn't agree with conservatives, like they're like, well, of course, Putin hopes Kamala wins. Well, I don't know. I mean, Kamala certainly would have supported funding Ukraine significantly more. So it's like, well, if Putin is saying that to the public, there's a strategy behind it. You don't just say that because it's like, oh, this is what I believe. There's a reason you're saying that information. And it could be the same thing with Trump. But Trump has said, well, I think it'd probably be better for Carney to win. You could argue that Trump is helping Carney with the annexation talks, but those have really gone away recently. And now Paul Vieira is coming out and playing hardball. He's pissed off about Trump. He says, no, the tariffs are terrible. We're going to fight them. And right now, I think Canada, it was announced yesterday when Trump brought off all the tariffs on the countries, and it was a 10% flat rate on every country. But because of our unique trading relationship with Canada and Mexico, Trump said, well, no, there's not going to be any more tariffs on Canada or Mexico. They already got hit with 25% auto tariffs. And I mean, a lot of that apparently is also, I mean, even the auto tariffs, a lot of it is protected under the North American Trade Agreement. But Canada said, well, listen, some of their premiers came out on talk shows and said, we're open to removing all of our tariffs if the United States removes their tariff. And I don't know if that's what Trump wanted. I don't know if he wants it renegotiated. I think Trump probably wants an even better trade deal with Canada, if I had to guess, to where we're getting minerals and rare earths and things from northern Canada for even cheaper, along with just all the tariffs off of U.S. products that Canada has on to protect mainly their farming industry. That's probably what Trump wants. I mean, at the end of the day, based off of our geographical location, I think Canada is a very strategic trading partner. They have better lumber than we do. There's no doubt about it. So there's going to have to be trade that's done. And we don't want to have reliance on countries, especially a country like China and the EU in general. But when you've got a trading partner that close to you, that's, you're talking about territorially connected, we can have a good trading relationship with Canada. And I think Trump knows that. But Trump also did say that, listen, and what I mean by that is we can still mend this relationship with Canada. We can. Even if it's like, oh, Trump is terrible, the Canadians hate him. Well, we're just so much stronger than Canada. It doesn't even matter. They're going to have to come to the negotiating table with us. It's just the reality of it. And so I think they're waiting, and we're kind of in this holding pattern. And Trump is probably saying, well, let's wait until we see who's the leader there. Because Trump had a phone call with Carney, and he basically said, well, Carney, after the election, I'm going to meet with him. Well, I mean, if he's we'll see how many seats they get. I mean, that's what it's going to depend on. But this is kind of putting Paul Vieira in maybe a better position, at least according to Canadians. Because if you are a Canadian, you would look at someone like Paul Vieira and say, well, this is someone that really is Canada first. Obviously, Trump doesn't like him and this is the same thing that the dumbass liberals do. They're like, well, Europe loves Biden or Europe loves Kamala. We're not a laughingstock. Well, no, you don't understand. You really don't want to be liked by Europe. We don't want our president to be liked by Europe. We want our president to not be hated by Europe, but I mean, it doesn't really matter because we want our president to do whatever is in the best interest of the United States. Whether or not that benefits Europe, it doesn't matter. So if we do something for the United States that benefits us, but it doesn't benefit Europe and Europe doesn't like us, that doesn't make our president a laughingstock. That makes our president serving us. So see how they get it wrong and they say, well, the Europe doesn't like him, but why would we care if Europe liked our leader? So it's the same thing with Canada and how they should approach it. Well, if Trump doesn't like the conservative leader, what does that matter? You should probably like him even more because that means it's really Canadian first and he cares. But Canada, because of their population, they're just, I don't want to say they're a powerless country, but they just have such a small population, and especially per the amount of land that they have. So I don't know really what they're going to do, but certainly them going a conservative route would be refreshing. I don't know how much in terms of their government and the separation of powers within it, how much they're going to be able to get done, because I do know a lot of those seats are still taken up by Trudeau appointed people. But this is something to where, look, it just depends. If Carney wins, how angry do the Albertans get? We know there's some polls. I mean, you don't want to say the polls are like gospel and say they're completely correct, but it's about 40%. So if it's about 40% right now that want to leave, and 20% of the 40% want to join the United States, if Carney wins, you're getting dangerously close to 50%. I don't know if it would be 50%. I don't even know if they're going to have a referendum. Maybe this is something that has to get negotiated if Carney wins between the province of Alberta and Carney, to where there's negotiations, because obviously Canada does not want to lose Alberta to the United States, but I'm sure the United States could also offer a much better deal than Canada in general can, in terms of if there's a negotiating battle between who gets Alberta, the United States or Canada. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm just saying, obviously the Canadian government is not going to want to lose Alberta. So maybe they say, well, we'll take away the Equalization Act. Well, we'll take away the carbon tax and all this other stuff to try and keep them, because these are Canadians. I mean, these people obviously there's been immigration and all that stuff, but in general, these are Canadian patriots in Alberta that are more conservative, that I'm sure love their land and they do love their country. Their country is just so left wing. So could there be something to where maybe there is negotiations, and instead of having a referendum, they're able to come to an agreement with, if Carney wins, just the government of Canada? I mean, that's something that could happen to give them a better deal, Alberta a better deal. Again, that's something that could happen, but we'll have to see how this all develops in terms of if Carney wins. What do they do? Is there going to be a panel? Is there going to be a referendum? And what do the polls look like in terms of it? Because, if he wins, there's going to be this huge bolt of energy that comes to the secession party. Like the people that want to secede from Canada. There's going to be a lot of energy behind that if Carney wins. But we're just going to have to see if he ends up winning or not. Right now it looks, look, you don't really know what these polls, you're almost a month away. We'll have to see what ends up happening. But honestly, as an American, it'd be better to deal with Carney. If you're a Canadian, most of Canada is very liberal, so it is what it is. I get it. But if I was a Canadian, I would not want Carney to win. But as an American, I'd like to see him win. Either way, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.